Welcome to Backstage Confessions, the ultimate backstage pass to the pulsating heart of the music world. Join us as we venture into the electrifying atmosphere of music festivals and shows, delving deep into the lives and minds of the artists who bring magic to the stage. From devouring vendor delicacies to uncovering raw, unfiltered conversations, we're your backstage insiders, exploring the untold stories, inspirations, and wild adventures that fuel the music industry. Get ready for an exclusive journey where every note, every bite, and every confession counts. This is Backstage Confessions.
Confessions. Good evening, Mr. Shepard.
Good evening, Mrs. Shepard. How are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Excellent.
Excellent day. It's a beautiful day out there.
Sure is. It's been a really nice day. Yesterday was beautiful too. I got sunburnt. My back hurts. You got a sunburn too?
Yeah, but that's okay. I got a little vitamin D.
There you go.
D rays coming down.
That's
I'll be
right.
feeling fine.
That's all it's about.
That's right.
We want to welcome everyone to our very first podcast. This is Backstage Confessions, number 1, episode uno.
We can only go up from here.
Can't go down to 0 once we record this. That's it.
That's right. You only get one first time.
That's right. We are on our way Thursday to go see Primus. So what better way to start off a podcast than talking about her man, Les Claypool.
He's my man. I mean, I know he has a wife, but he's my man. I know I have a husband, so neither of these things matter. He's my man. Musical man.
He's your get out of jail free card.
Oh, most definitely. The first one.
That's right.
Once again, have to clear that with his wife.
That's right. Long as she's cool with it.
Right. But musically, he just is. I really like that he's so weird and that he didn't really let anything change how weird he was. In fact, he just got weirder and they just got better.
Yeah, and almost he didn't understand it from what you've said.
Yeah.
He just didn't believe it at all was happening, and people just said, we love it, because it had never been played that way.
That's right. I mean, he had his influences too, so he's mimicking what they've done, but at the same time, nobody was doing it like he was.
This concert that we're going to is also known as the Sesanta Tour, which is Maynard James Keyton's 60th birthday celebration. So I'm pretty excited to see some Tool, his original band Pussifer, and of course Primus is going to be playing along.
That's right.
You're a huge fan.
Yes, I believe that him and Maynard have been friends for a while too.
Yep. Seems like Billy Strings recently joined in on that group too.
I know, it's like my 3 favorites
It's like
right there.
the gods of music.
I know. I love it whenever some of your musical influences are friends with some of your other musical influences. It's like in the real life setting whenever you have a friend and you don't know that they know this other friend, and then you find out that you guys all like, what? You know them? Oh my God. It's like fate or something.
Probably influenced each other and helped each other along the way too.
Yeah,
I'm sure
you're
of it.
right. You're right.
That's cool stuff. Why do you like Les Claypool so much?
I like that he is, I said earlier, but I like that he's weird. I like that he is not, he doesn't conform to commercially, what you should do. And usually, especially when they came out, that was not how you made money. That's not how you got big. That's not how you became a big band like Primus. They went against the grain 100%, and by doing so, the more they went against the grain, almost the more they went up, which they were coming out in the time of like grunge and alternative. So they kind of had like, that was the honey spot for them, which makes sense.
Yep.
But at the same time, they were weird and they were unique.
Super
and
weird.
That's what everybody wanted. They didn't want the same cookie cutter stuff.
Yep. That's right.
They wanted something different.
Plays the bass like nobody else does.
That's right. That's right.
And he's got a pretty sweet bass guitar too.
Yes.
I love that thing.
And that signature slap style that he has. I know that like whenever they first started, he went in between having Todd. He met Todd and they were in the band, but then like he was in another band called Blind Illusions, and he was like traveling with them for a while before he ever started Primus, and then started Primus as Primates.
Makes sense.
Primate, and they got a call within like a month that they were going to get sued if they didn't change it.
There was already a Primate.
Yeah, there was already a Primate. They weren't huge, but they were big enough to threaten to sue him, and
Okay,
so
fair enough.
it was pretty easy switch just to go to Primus. And then after that, well, before that even, his only musical like schooling or lessons was high school jazz band. I thought that was really neat.
I've heard that if you can play jazz, you can play anything.
Fair enough. Jazz is a complicated
You
with all
learn
the
how to
switch
speak
ups.
music with jazz.
But at the same time, he actually was friends with the dude from Metallica,
Okay.
and they were like, is it Kurt? I want to say. I want to mix them up now, but they were friends in high school, and that's who he would like pick his brain and be like, who should we listen to? Because at his house, no one like was that musically inclined or anything. So all he was hearing was stuff on the radio, and he wanted to know something different and hear something different. So when he was in jazz in high school, he would have his teacher like teach him all the scales and all music theory and things that you're not just teaching your regular high school
Yeah, that's cool.
class. So I thought that was cool that he kind of like went out of his way to learn, but at the same time, whenever he was doing these big bands, that's still all he had under his belt was high school jazz. So I thought that was kind of neat. So that transitioned in there because he was actually asked to go on the Ride the Lightning album.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. He was listening to it in his shower before it was out when he was just a construction worker, and they asked him to play on it. And he went and played with them, but he was like, there were so many different switch ups, and there was something else like that they deserved to have. That wasn't what I was wanting to do either. He's like, it just wasn't what my calling was. So
Les Claypool at one point lacked confidence.
yeah,
Huh.
yeah. And even funnier, Metallica, Primus got on MTV before Metallica did.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
they were calling him like, "Hey, how did you get on MTV?
Yeah.
Like, we haven't even got
Give
on
us your
MTV."
connections.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny with MTV because MTV is like had a lot of issues with Primus constantly.
Sure.
Just that they were so weird.
Yep.
Like they would ban them for that lacquerhead. I always say it wrong, but they said that it was the drug references when the whole point of the song is to not do drugs and not become addicted to alcohol.
Okay.
It's literally the point of the song, and they're like, "No, it has drug references. Get it out of here."
Don't talk about it at all.
Yeah,
It doesn't exist.
yeah. If we don't talk about it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I remember Rage Against the Machine was told not to sing their lyrics when they went on for BBC.
Oh yeah,
And BBC was waiting pins and needles to see if they were, and of course they did anyway.
that's
So
a
they
that's
played about 10 seconds in and cut it.
that's kind of like a musicianal fuck you. I think there's
Well,
been
do
a
what you tell me.
there's been a couple people like the Doors did that too.
Yeah.
That they weren't allowed to say, was it "Come on, Baby, Light My Fire"?
Maybe.
Oh
I
yeah,
could see that around
it was
the
that
time.
song, but it said "Girl, we couldn't get much higher," and they were asked to just not sing that lyric. So Jim Morrison, of course, screamed it to the top of his lungs
Yeah. That's funny.
because that's
Got to, man. Express yourself.
right. Well, I mean, you can't ask an artist, "Hey, come in and do your art, but do it the way I want you to do it,"
Right. Nope.
and then you need to find a different artist.
Yep.
I think.
right.
So he quit Blind Illusion a couple times till like at 21 he just was starting to get the guys together for Primus, but it still wasn't even technically Primus yet. So basically everything that we've talked about so far is all before he's 21.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Les
That-
Claypool as a baby.
Yeah. Baby Claypool.
What's Baby Claypool's real name?
Leslie Edward Claypool.
Leslie Edward Claypool.
Yes. Born September 29th, 1963.
My dad's middle name is Edward.
Oh, you guys are practically related.
He might be my dad.
Oh my! I'll call him Daddy.
That'd be fitting.
Sorry, you set me up too easy for that one. So he had met some of the people from that were going to be in Primus. Primus had a couple different people in and out, but he had met Todd and Larry at that point. Even though Primus wasn't a thing, he was still in Blind Illusion, and going back and forth. He had still met him. So then, a little time goes by, and Blind Illusion. Actually, before he even went in Blind Illusion, there was another band, the Tommy Crank Band.
Okay.
And so they traveled with the Hells Angels. And so when he first stopped Blind Illusion before Primus had started, he knew Todd and Larry, but he was going on the road with the Tommy Crank band and following the Hells Angels into all these different bars. And he said that that's what he contributes to learning how to like groove and jam
Okay.
versus just play a song. Cause
Hell's Angels had a pretty strong tie to the acid that was in the scene at the time as well.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely liked to partake in the acid. I don't know how much, but I know that like for spring break, MTV, I believe it was, he did not want to do that. He had said, nope, not doing it. But his manager was like, look, I'm going to tell him yes because you guys just keep saying no to like everything. But he didn't want to do, like, he's like, I'm not going to the mall
Right.
and playing Primus for the shoppers.
Right.
They don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
That's not, thank God that he stood up for his art because,
If I want to play some weird stuff, I think the Hell's Angels might like it.
yeah.
They're weird.
Well, and he wasn't playing Primus then. He was playing something else.
Yeah. Right.
But they were teaching him how to groove.
Yep. Okay.
So he learned stuff with that Tommy Crank band that he took with him into Primus, along with his jazz high school band. But he's taking that musical scales and the basic information, and then this other real life information of a real band that's traveling, and then saying, okay, I like this, I like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. Let's do my thing this way. So he struggled a lot with that.
And if you learn jazz music, you can play your jazz music. That's fine. You go and hang out with the Hell's Angels. You're going to see some weird shit.
Definitely.
100%.
Definitely.
So that has to. I wonder how much of an influence he attributes to
If all that's before he's
seeing
even
all the stuff that
21.
he saw. Yeah, had to be foundational.
Yeah, most definitely. And thankfully,
Yeah.
because what better group to celebrate weirdness than
Right.
the Acid Crew?
Yep.
Like, what, you're weird? We love you. Be our president. We don't do presidents, but if we did, Les Claypool.
King of bass.
Yeah, king of bass. We could do that. So all that like really shaped who he was, obviously, just to get started. And I'm glad that he knew who he was to say no to such a big thing like Metallica back then. Whenever he was so fresh that he could have jumped on that
Yeah.
and went for it.
Yeah, they had albums out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't. He didn't want to just be famous.
Didn't feel it.
Even though it's funny because whenever you ask him like, why did you want to play bass? He's like, because everyone else wanted to play guitar and be like this rock god. So it was like, well, let me try to play the bass then. It might be easier because it has less strings.
Yeah, sure.
That was
He plays it
literally
like
what
the
he
maddest
says.
madman you've ever seen, and also sings on top of it.
That's literally what he says, though.
Easy.
He goes back and forth, back into Blind Illusion again later on.
Okay.
Finally calls up Larry and is like, hey, do you want to join a band with me? So it's Les and Larry. And then they hired Herb in 89. And they called him Herb. It has nothing to do with weed.
Just Herbert.
No, it's not him. No. He had a pouch and he had herbs in it.
Okay. Actual herbs.
Yeah.
All right.
And like Claypool's like, hey, my stomach hurts. And they're getting ready to record. And he's like, hey, my stomach hurts. So he like reaches in his pouch and he pulls out these things that he said look like rabbit pellets, like rabbit turds. And he's like, chew on this and it'll make your stomach feel better. And he's like, sure enough, my stomach felt better. But he was belching up like the grossest stuff all day long after that. But he was like, he always had an herb for something. I know it's hard not to say it. He always had it for something, and it wasn't a weed reference, so it's funny about that. And then they would call him Herb the ginseng drummer because he would just chew on ginseng while he was drumming.
That's interesting.
He liked his herbs.
I bet Herb's an interesting guy to talk to.
I bet he is too. I bet so. And then, so after they got together, 3 months later, they did Suck on This, and that was the first album, and it was a live album.
Okay.
So, like, as a musician, you got to know, like, you don't, air quotes, because no one else does, release their first album as a live album.
Why?
Why do other people not do it, or why did they do it?
Why do you not do it?
Other people don't do it, I think, because your first time you're trying to prove themselves as a musician, and they want everything clean and, like, studio quality and very commercial.
Okay. That's
They're
fair.
like, I don't want to sound like I'm in a basement.
Yeah, I like the bar atmosphere in the
Yeah,
background of the
exactly.
music. You know, that's cool.
But Primus, Les, Larry, Herb,
Corey.
Corey.
I don't have a live album,
Well, I
but it would
mean,
be cool.
but I think I can't speak for them, but I would about guess. Number one, they could record it themselves.
Right. You don't have to pay for studio time. That's a big deal. And hours upon it. You just go and play a show, and if it sounds great, you say, okay, here's the music.
That probably made like 89% of their choice up, and then maybe the other, whatever percentage that is, left over. Because I'm great at math. 11%.
Yep. There you go.
Look at
Nice.
me go.
Gold star.
That other 11% was probably the fact that it sounded like them.
Yeah.
And they didn't, like, it's like going out on a date with someone and not trying to be fake. It's like, this is me. So if you like it,
If you can't match studio sound,
yeah.
then it's kind of disappointing when you see them live.
Yeah.
Not always. Sometimes the energy is different, but I have seen bands that I was disappointed in because I found them on a CD or some kind of digital track first.
Yeah.
You know,
Being live is completely different always.
changes it for sure.
And they had actually done Sausage, a little demo named Sausage, before they had done this, before they'd done Suck on This. And so they used the equipment that they had already bought from that demo. So that's probably a big,
Yeah, makes
like I
sense.
said, that 89% of a reason of why they did it live. But they did it, and it was awesome. And it went, like, everybody's like, oh, well, we actually freaking like this. So they had borrowed, like, $3,000 from his dad and produced, like, 1,000 albums and went out and just sold them. Took 200 to local radio stations and just sent them out to different ones, especially in college towns and stuff like that. And people started liking it. And they were like, hey, this is pretty good. And so they got more calls for it. And then they took the money that they got from that and made another 1,000 records and kind of kept doing that until they got to Caroline Records, like the producer or record producer. Is that how you say that?
Yep. Yes.
And they offered them a 1-album contract.
Okay.
And Primus was like, hey, yeah, we actually kind of like that because we're new in the game. We're not really for sure how this works. We don't know if we want to sign with you. 1 date? Sounds good. Let's do that. So they did it. They produced the Suck on This at a much larger scale than what Primus and Claypool and them had done on their own.
Okay.
But when they did it, they sold great. And so then they did, the next one was Frizzle Fry for 11,000, and they used the profits from Suck on This to make Frizzle Fry. And it got to where they finally got to selling the Seas of Cheese, and it cost $30,000 to produce. So as you can see, it's getting more expensive. But because they have a record label backing them, they can do that. It was well worth it. They went gold with that one.
Nice.
And they actually almost didn't, like, there was a contract situation with that specific one with selling the Seas of Cheese, that if they would have signed it, like the record, the person on their side came in and was like, the only way that this will go south for you is if you're going to sell more than 100,000 records. Do you think that you're going to sell more than 100,000 records? And they all were like, no, we don't think that we're going to sell that much. He's like, that's the only way this could go south for you. But they didn't want to do it anyway. So they went the opposite way and sold a bunch of, I think the internet said a fuck ton.
That's an official number.
That is the official number. And thank God that they didn't do it the other way, because they made bank instead of the record company just banking on them. And then they had enough money and enough momentum and leverage and getting their name out there, being official now, because they sold up to gold
That makes
with
sense.
their third produced album.
Back to a fuck ton.
Yeah, fuck.
I know this person that would go and ask for extra ketchup packets at McDonald's, and they would give her like 2 extra ketchup packets. So she would go and she would say, give me a fuck ton of ketchup packets, and they would fill the bag and give it to her.
So that is also an
McDonald's has an
acronym for
official
us.
menu item, fuck ton of ketchup packets.
I like that. So that in the training manual, or
Yeah, I
is
think
that
so.
like
It's in the first video on the day one when you get hired.
Okay, I didn't know if there's like an undercover McDonald's. And I
It's
was
the
trying
whole
to think
undercover
of,
menu that you have to swear
yeah,
to.
I was trying to think of what it would be.
Non-disclosure agreements and everything.
Like, they put Mick in front of everything. This is the Mick secret menu.
They have a McGangbang.
Oh my God. Yes.
It's a McChicken sandwich.
Oh my God. Oh no, what I thought. Okay. I don't know why that made me so excited.
No, that would be too greasy. I don't want it. Ew,
I was
nasty.
also thinking after I said yes,
And
like,
grease is hot.
what was in that? That made me get so excited. Ronald?
Nope.
Grimace?
Grimace shakes is the result of McGangbangs.
Oh. So, okay. That makes
There you go.
sense. That totally makes sense, actually. So, what was on the gangbang sandwich?
2 burger patties and a chicken patty in the middle.
Oh, that makes sense. The beef and the chicken are the gangbang.
Mm.
Is there lettuce too?
I'm sure. Not much. Just falling off of the paper.
Well, that's fine. That's how all McDonald's lettuce is. I
Yeah.
think they actually just put it on the paper.
Don't even put it on the bridges. Here you go.
Yeah, it's like on the side.
It's
It's like maybe you
garnishings.
wanted lettuce, maybe you didn't want lettuce. We'll put it
Just
on the
in
side.
case.
Just in case you might want it. It's not good lettuce, so we're not convinced that you're going to want it.
It's something.
But anyway, let us get back to Primus.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's see. We were talking about that they had just sold they went gold.
Just sold and went gold.
Just sold and went gold. And when they did, they went on tour with Anthrax, Public Enemy, U2, and Rush. They're noted a lot to be going with Rush. I didn't actually, I had to look up to see who else was in it because that's all I've ever heard is them going on tour with Rush.
Okay.
But apparently Public Enemy and Anthrax and
Dang.
U2 were in there.
You too.
I'm not going to throw any shade, but not my favorite.
I will throw all the shade at you two. I
At me?
do not like Bono or you two. And if you do, we got beef.
I don't know.
It's not even good beef. It's McDonald's beef. Give me some Sprite.
It's so loud. Yeah, it's so loud. Okay, so then they go on tour with Public Enemy, U2, and Rush. And then after that, they do a cover album. And I just found out very recently about this cover album. Like, I knew it was an album, but never actually sat and listened. And so I didn't realize it was a cover album.
Okay.
They actually cover Pink Floyd's Have a Cigar.
Ooh, I bet that sounds good.
It is. It is. Les sings.
Let's take a moment to hear the first 5 seconds of that song. Okay.
I can play it for you. He sings. He obviously, I mean, it's not Pink Floyd, but it's Primus. Primus does it. And a lot of people have done Have a Cigar. So it's interesting.
Yep.
Another one that he does a Peter Gabriel, and I believe that is one of his influences that I'd heard him say. Because I'm not for sure who Peter Gabriel is. Is he a bassist? Because he talked about...
If you ever ask me who somebody's name is, you already know that I don't know the answer.
That's fair enough. That's actually how we started talking about Promise the first time.
Duh, Peter Gabriel is a singer-songwriter. He's an English singer, songwriter, and human rights activist. He was the original lead singer of the progressive rock band Genesis.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
So he did one of his songs. It was a 5 album. It wasn't just him. It was them. It was Primus. It was a 5 song album that was a cover album. It was called Miscellaneous Debris, and it came out in '92.
Okay.
And so that was cool to me that it had just 5 songs and they were cover songs.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
pretty
kind of
sweet.
neat.
Redo them in our own way and put it out there for people to listen to.
Yeah, exactly.
Led Zeppelin did it.
Yep.
Big time.
You said Led Zeppelin. It kind of made me think of like Primus and Les Claypool, specifically Les Claypool, bounced around and having different people in the band. And so he also had side projects, a lot of side projects, like the Les Claypool and the Fearless Frog Brigade.
Fearless Flying Frog Brigade.
Thank you. Along with like Oysterhead, there's a long list of side projects. But one of the side projects is also that he had a small record company called The Prawn Song. And
From Swan Song?
yeah, and the prawn is in shape of the flying Gabriel angel from your favorite band, Led Zeppelin.
Cool.
I like their references to the big bands, as they call them, and like Led Zeppelin is one. Also, they have the Brown album, which is a direct
Black Album.
reference to the Black Album.
Okay.
Exactly. So I think it's cool, yeah, that they kind
That's
of
funny.
keep their humor
Yeah.
in there too. And actually, a lot of their songs, if you listen to the lyrics, they are, I mean, it's pure satire about
Totally.
real issues. Not all of them, but most of them. A lot of them.
In such a real way that people, weirdos like to go and watch a Primus show, right?
Yeah.
Not if you normally listen to classical music, you're probably not going to go to a Primus show. But
That's not
weirdos
true.
will go.
That's not true.
That's not true, but generally.
Okay, fair enough.
And so people like to get weird and go to a show and get weird about it. Primus would be so weird that it would make people have to leave after they already paid their money.
That's true.
Because not only is it just funny and generally like sometimes, with My Name is Mud, that pig is just it's weird art,
Yeah, just that
But
pig
it's weird
alone.
enough that it is attached to real life satire that it makes people like,
Yeah, that's like what got him banned. A lot of My Name is Mud. They had a video that his wife worked worked pretty hard on helping make the video and stuff, and they wouldn't play it on MTV because those pig suits were just so weird to people. Like,
that's all it is.
yeah, just it made us feel something, and we're not for sure where to put what category to put that in.
like it.
It's in my hair.
It's so sticky.
Well, they made it through though with all those obstacles.
Still doing well.
I'm still doing good. They did a bunch, then they went on a hiatus, and I believe what started the hiatus is that when they did the Anti-Pop album in '99, they had so many people on that album. It was like Fred Durst. It was the dude against Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine. It was Stuart Copeland. It was Tom Waits. It was Matt Stone from South Park.
Okay.
Because before that, they had done the South Park theme song.
It
Which
took me forever to realize that, but I should have known.
I found out some information about that. We've talked before. We'll get right back to that. But for that anti-pop album, they had so many hands in on it. I think because partly they had like the fame and they got to the point they had those connections. And that's kind of like as an artist, like when those major people are like, hey, you want us to help you or do a song or put our name out there? It's like, yeah, we want that. Come on. Mm-hmm. Also, creatively, we've done a couple albums and we've done some things, so maybe we should mix it up. But as soon as that happened, Claypool was like, no. It's like they put the album out, but he felt like he said, people had asked him, how long will Primus go on? And he was like, we'll go till it's no fun no more, till it's not fun anymore. And after the anti-pop album, I believe because everyone else's hands were in on it, they kind of backed off a little and it wasn't as fun. It wasn't them.
Yeah.
And listening to it, you can hear the difference. It's way more commercial.
Yeah.
Which makes sense
And
because
you
a
had to
lot
pull
of
back
those
probably in a
are
lot of ways.
commercial artists.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Keep it fun. That's what it's all about in
That's
the first
right.
place.
So he comes back later with the original guys. He said the energy was there again. It was just like what he had wanted, and that's when he started doing it again. Like he said, Primus will go till it's no fun. So when it wasn't fun, they quit, and then they came back and started having fun again.
Hell yeah.
And on that South Park note, it is widely known that they did the theme song for South Park. Mm-hmm. And it's probably, honestly, their most well-known song. Because even people who don't know who Primus is, who don't know who Les Claypool is, some people who do know who he is aren't aware that he did that song or aren't aware that they did that song.
I wonder how many other songs inside the cartoon of South Park were written by Les Claypool or somebody along those lines.
Later on, that could have happened, but I know that in the beginning, it was like, okay, they put out this Christmas special that was available to everyone, but it wasn't, South Park wasn't what it was then. They didn't even have an intro song. It was just a one-episode special. And Les and them had seen it and kind of thought, oh, they were pretty creative and they did pretty good. And so they had asked, I don't know how the connections happened, but somehow they had asked Les and Primus to do the intro. So they said they sat down and like very quickly, we weren't trying to make this take that much time.
And that song's iconic now.
Yeah. It's like I said, ironically that's probably their most well-known song.
That's funny.
Also, as a musician, usually your most well-known song is the one that you just took 3 minutes to spit out as a joke and is like, please don't put my whole name on that. Like,
And the one you want people to know is like,
no,
we'll take
people
it.
will know it, but not the masses,
Yeah.
typically.
Right.
Typically. So they ended up coming back with their original crew again. They came back and did the Primus and the Chocolate Factory, which was cool because, and it was also Primus and the Chocolate Factory with the Fungi Ensemble.
Okay.
His two favorite movies, Les's two favorite movies growing up, or the two at least that he recalled or that shaped his childhood that he remembered watching, were Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory
Yep.
and Jaws,
Okay.
which is why I want to wear a Jaws shirt to the Primus concert.
Oh, all right. Hey.
Super obvious to wear a Primus shirt,
Yeah,
right?
that'd be cool. Maybe he'll recognize you and come
He'll
out
find me.
and find you.
He'll find me.
And be like, oh, there you are.
Oh my God, you're wearing Jaws? That's my favorite movie. I knew that. Or should I pretend
And
like I
that's the
didn't
last
know
we
that?
saw of Autumn.
No, I'll be back. Or I won't. I don't know. We'll see. But it was a good album. It was a really good album. And it was fun and funky. Followed up by the Desaturating 7, which is the one that when I started kind of listening to them less as a fan and more like in my OCD, let's go down the rabbit hole and fill in all the information about the people.
Yep.
Sometimes as I start listening to someone, I'm like, oh, I like them, they're cool. And then they get enough into my brain that I want to like go down the rabbit hole and find out about them. That's when I started listening to the Desaturated 7 because I didn't know it was out there. And now it's like one of my favorite albums. It came from a cartoon called Rainbow Goblins that inspired him. And it's this dark, kind of creepy cartoon. And he wanted to put that into like an album, kind of like the Wonka one.
Yeah.
So that was
That's cool.
And they had both people back from the Punch Bowl, Tales from the Punch Bowl in '95 that they released. That same band ensemble was back together for Desaturating 7. And that came out in 2017.
Okay.
That Rainbow Goblin was a book also. I might have said it was a show, but it's a book.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then it was, let's see here, it's like Conspiracy and Paranoid.
Conspiranoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that album a lot. It's actually only 3 tracks, but the 3 that are on there are pretty cool. And the music video that's like 11 minutes or something, his son, Cage Claypool, made it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So it's like that black and white head with all the gears all over it that you see.
Yeah.
That was all his son that did that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
so
very
that's
cool.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that he's used his son there, or let his son do it there. Then his wife helped with the video with the other. He's had a lot of side projects with his family and with other musical influences, like the Claypool Delirium.
Lennon Claypool or Claypool Lennon.
Yeah, and it's Sean Lennon, which is John Lennon's son, and they worked together on that album, which is also a really great one. So it's different and trippy. I know all of this stuff is kind of weird, but this is more of a ooh trippy than a bum, 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 bum. I like it too, though.
There's no better way to get better than to play with good people.
Right.
And he just
to
seems to
try
seek that. He
different
just
things.
seems to seek that out. You know, that's
Yeah.
part of his life.
If there was an ADHD musician, it's him.
Yeah. Let's,
A lot of projects.
let's meet and hang out with the country music artist of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
Like,
why would you not?
sure.
The best soups
Learn something from
have
it.
most ingredients.
Tasty.
Yeah. You don't want just the same ingredient.
Yeah.
Oh, Les Claypool. Oh, while we're talking about Primus, and we talk about the Primus sucks, I didn't know for forever people would be like, oh, Primus sucks. And I was like, why do they keep saying they sucks? And like, why is that a thing? So I finally had to just look up where it started from. And it was just literally like someone yelled at him like, we love you, we love Primus. And Les yelled back, Primus sucks. And then it just started from that. And like how confident you have to be to say that your band sucks and that's now the catchphrase that you started. That's pretty cool, right? And
How long do you think the lack of confidence that he had with Metallica, how long do you think that carried into his Primus career? Because I wonder if it was earlier on, he's like, nah, Primus sucks. We're playing music. And was humble about it.
I think that it's an expectation. I could be wrong. It's like, oh, Tell Everybody Primus sucks, and then when you hear them, you're like, man, they're not that bad. That's pretty cool, actually.
Why does everybody keep saying this band sucks?
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about it.
But I don't know. His humor is, it's like you don't try to figure it out. It's just less being less. I love his humor.
Yeah. He's unique.
The Primus sucks. I'm going to shout out to my girl, Christina Tybeck. She got me these pillows.
One in blue, one in green.
Yeah, and they say Primus sucks. She made these, handmade these, and I'm going to sleep with them.
And that's high quality, too.
Concert. They're on my bed every night. It's like, I literally screamed and was like, whenever I got this. Normally gifts make me feel very awkward, but this was just like, oh my God.
Came running over and stopped me from talking. He's like, Shillings!
It was cool.
Yeah.
Well, Primus Sucks pillows are the best. They're the suckiest pillows I've ever had. I love them.
That's funny.
But yeah, what a good confidence. And, some of it's probably not even confidence. Some of it's probably just like faking it and just being like, or maybe not.
This is what I can give you.
But like saying fuck it. Like we were talking about earlier, the spring break that they did, and they were turning everything down. He literally said, I'm in my sweats and I'm not changing. And they dropped acid. And they're like, fuck it, let's go. So he said that the whole spring break, while everybody's out dancing and stuff, all he saw was like a blur of yellow and orange because he was so fucked up. I think it was him and Herb or him and one of the other guys that dropped acid. And he said that he ended up having a really great time. He's like, we were back there with like hanging out behind stage with Cypress Hill and a few of these other bands that he names off. And he was like, actually, it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun. And I'm really glad that I did that my manager didn't let us back out of that one. So
yeah,
I think it's kind of cool that
it's difficult to make it through that.
Yeah, well, I mean, he had fun with it.
It's like Carlos Santana.
Yeah.
Dropped before he went on with Jimi Hendrix, and his guitar turned into a snake.
He's
fighting it the whole time. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But just Taryn was one of the best performances, most iconic performances he has.
But they can't all be like that.
Right.
They can't all be the most iconic, and they can't all be on acid.
Sometimes you get stuck in the couch.
Yeah, then you become Couch Claypool.
Your hands don't work.
I wonder if Claypool's ever been Couch Claypool. That'd be interesting to know. There's so much that could be said about Primus. There's so much that can be said about Les Claypool. There's probably so much that I've gotten wrong that I might get comments on, and that's okay. I don't mind to find out the most accurate information.
Call her out.
Call me out. Call me.
Let her know that feedback.
Let me know that feedback. But as far as today goes, I've had a great conversation about Primus.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun. I think it's a success for a first time.
Super excited to see him on Thursday.
Yep. First time. Another first for both of us.
What if I see him and I'm like, hey, baby, you want to lay down with me? Hey, baby, you want to lay down by my side? You think?
One of these like either now or never.
Now?
Okay.
But, I'm sure he's heard that. I'm sure he's like, come on, come up with something better.
Never once.
I don't know. He should have. If he hasn't, then he deserves it, but I don't know if he has.
Especially if you're wearing a Jaws t-shirt.
Yeah. Has to. And then maybe I can get him to sign it.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Is that a podcast?
I think this is a good podcast.
Right on.
It was a lot of fun talking about him.
I'm looking forward to exploring your knowledge of all the other bands that you can talk about forever.
Yeah.
So,
well, and some of yours too. There's other ones that you know more of than I do. And I'm super excited to get into the local bands because I think that's where we can get into more of the less maybe information and more of the confessions because I can't talk specifically to Les Claypool. I can really only go off of stories I've heard, research those. I can also surf the internet for the basic stories you hear and then go to the interviews, which is where he tells the random stories and then take that information, which is still, it's his information, it's his confessionals, but some of these local bands, we've got to either see the confessionals going down and then I'd like to hear some of the...
their sides.
Yes, exactly. I'd like to hear all the backstage confessionals of the local bands.
That's right.
Because that's where my heart and soul is.
If Les was here, we would have let you talk the whole time.
Oh,
I want to hear what you have to say.
Come on, Les.
And if you want to come ever and sit on our podcast, that'd be cool too.
You said if you want to come sit on our...
Podcast.
And that's all for Backstage Confessionals today. Today on WLSD, we're signing off.
If you made it this far, thanks for listening.
That's right. as a good sign off.
Peace.